opens with his even Warlock, and he wants that get that out of the way because he saw Sorktar struggling versus the Warrior earlier, and even Warlock is a strong opener deck because it just can do even Warlock things, which is tapping, and you see the ntR has all the key cards you need to start off a race with the even Warlock.
Yeah, and you do have to get in there early because those taunts will become incredibly annoying as the game goes on.
And without a really big, like the board clears of Warlock, as you know from earlier, it's like Defile and Hellfire. They clear a big board, but they don't clear a big board of big stuff. And that's that could be a problem versus Taunt Druid, where we have 4/8s, 4/12s, 8/8s, all having taunts that you have to push through. And it's important then to be able to get early on the board, get the damage you need in, and then maybe finish him off with Gul'dan or similar.
Game 1 in Last Hero Standing always has these big implications as well. And if ntR can get rid of Xixo's Token Druid early, get rid of the Taunt Druid early, yeah, that will help him a lot further down the line.
Yeah, the Taunt Druid, as we mentioned earlier, is something that's been reoccurring now on the LHS, and it's a deck that can do, well, it can basically do the same thing like doing Taunt Druid things. We all know onward, friends, to adventure, and just suddenly the Taunt Druid has a big board full of taunty stuff. Yeah, and if he loses this game, if ntR does lose this game, he's got to find a way to take down the Taunt Druid with either his tokens or his Odd Warrior. And that can get a bit messy, although, you know, you were saying before about the Odd Warrior in this instance does have some tech to help it a little bit. Yeah, and the thing with the whole Taunt Druid also is probably the strongest deck for Xixo. He can basically sweep the whole lineup of ntR if he doesn't win this with an even Warlock right now. And that's the, what is it, the charm basically of the LHS format, because some decks basically has sweep potential, and just if you don't win your counter matchup, you just win the whole series. However, ntR's managed to get that counter matchup out there nice and early, winning the mind games that go with Last Hero. Much more interesting in terms of opening match than Conquest, where you can lose your bad matchup, but then you'll still get your good matchup because you get to keep the deck that lost. Whereas in this, if you lose your deck that's favoured in 2, if you lose it early on, that really gives you an uphill battle for the rest of the series. And we see both players playing pretty fast because it's pretty straightforward turns, and ntR landing the Geist, which is really key to removing a lot of the Druid removal. Having naturalized with Hadronox on turn 10 is Rosty's biggest tip for Taunt Druid, and now it's gone. You have no chance to get through. Yeah, Xixo has always played incredibly quickly, even at his absolute peak when he was the best player in the world, I think undoubtedly at some points. He still always played incredibly fast, and against slower players, that can actually put pressure on them while they're trying to sort of think of things. Yeah, some of the really slow, grindy players do find it hard to play against. If you're not careful, you fall into his pattern of speed as well. Yeah, you fall into the pattern of speed, which is one thing. You're just mimicking your opponent. The other thing is, like, if you play a more complex deck, you use your opponent's turn to think as well. And when Xixo doesn't give you anything to think on, you just, wow, I have half the time to think. Yeah, in general, I'm against players playing quickly. I feel that you have that time to think, you should use it. But Xixo has always used it as a weapon. Casey is another one who uses their speed of play as a weapon against the slower players. Yeah, and you see ntR has to slow down right now because he basically needs to think out these turns. How do you map around? How do you kill this Dragon Hatcher, for instance? Yeah, and what do you think is going on in Xixo's hand? As we can see, Xixo's hand actually, normally they start churning out big minions about now. That's not going to be happening. But ntR needs to try and work out exactly what he's up against and plan for the future very carefully here. And we see Xixo now. Xixo, as we said, he has very dead hand, basically. He has a Dragon Hatcher on board, which basically pulls a good dragon out every turn. But he needs something else to really solidify his board space, and he would love to see a Hadronox or a Master O card showing up really soon. Very much so. He's also trying to work out how to use this anti-magic shell, how greedy to be. Obviously, with a dragon coming every turn, you would think that he'd be greedy as he can, but he feels that this board's big enough. It is a lot of damage on board. If you see that now, it's 19 damage that Xixo can push to face next turn if he gets through the taunt. That is, but that's a lot of damage that ntR doesn't want to take to face. Yeah, also important that he got rid of that Divine Shield last turn, making Defile a lot less of a good option. Not that it would be that great anyway, but just making sure no accidents could occur with Hellfires and Defiles. Yeah, because as you see in the ntR's list also, the Tainted Zealot is a way to get these big minions down. It's you can basically make your build yourself your own your own bigger
build your own Godfrey.
Yeah,
your own, with that?
Yeah, your own Godfrey. The even Warlock version of Godfrey basically just removes almost all boards, but in this state ntR is currently in, it's going to be hard, and this wall of that the Xixo is currently presenting is presenting a lot of damage, and it's presenting him not being able to push any damage. Yeah,
and ntR also, his hand is very clunky for turn 9. I always talk about turn 7 being key here, but again, you can only play 2 4-drops on this turn, and they're not particularly menacing. He's had to find a way to transform the board. And
it dismantled the board slowly but steadily, but the Dragon Hatcher is still just going strong and just pulling more and more dragons. And
Hadronox has turned up to the party as well, so that's going to make things even more difficult.
Yeah, because Xixo has all the time in the world now. As long as he has taunts up, he will never be under any pressure. And that basically means that he can keep on just building his board and then swing it around with the branching paths. He lost his naturalize, so he can't get through taunts, but he can push a lot of damage with the full board and the branching path.
Gonna have to get it done though, because you can run out of minions in this deck, so each time one of these goes down, that's a tick for ntR in the job getting closer column.
And I believe that was his last dragon, so the Dragon Hatcher. Yeah, that's this last dragon, the Primordial Drake, because he only runs one Sleepy Dragon, meaning he's out of dragons now, and that means the Dragon Hatcher's value is basically, it's done. But it's done its job, pulling out all the dragons.
Yes, massive early threats. Gul'dan picked up, but way too slow for this turn. And
yeah, he will die from the backswing if he plays Gul'dan now, most likely. And he knows it. Xixo has been sitting on 3 cards in his hand for a long time. And what could that be? It could be like stuff like branching paths. It could be like, or like he has Nourish, which has been like unplayable because he has always had a good play each turn.
Still a bit of refill for later.
But ntR is struggling now because he has a 4/9 on board, but he's represented with so much damage. He knows that Hadronox can't be procced by nothing, but it's still a nuisance to have it on the board. He doesn't have a silence for it, so...
Looks like all of HCT are at this event as well, so they are going to be a bigger player going into Season 3. Now they're all signed up and ready to go.
Yeah, and Hoy and Xixo, as we see them for a long time, they're basically... showing up and surrender, like the cute boy from Korea, as everyone calling him. He's also been a big player in the stages before, and now they're gathered and can gather points for a team.
And I feel that Xixo needs this. I feel that on a personal level, he struggles to motivate himself sometimes these days. When you've been known as the best player in the world, then somehow, how do you keep that motivation going forever?
That's true. And he deserves it as well. He's working really hard, and he's been traveling a lot, and a lot of it out of his own pocket, just to be able to travel and meet all the cool people, of course, like me and Lorinda.
Of course.
But also because he wants to really show and have his new big break. He had his big break before, but it's basically gone a bit behind, and now he wants the new big break.
Yeah, I feel he plays better because he's on the team, because he's playing for other people as well as himself, so there's a bit more responsibility, a bit more reason for him to be invested again. And that's not a dig at Xixo, it's just what happens to a lot of people when they've... I know he never won a massive world championship or something, but having been regarded as that guy who always got rank 1 legend back in the day, having multiple amazing finishes and tournament wins, he doesn't have a whole lot of motivation, but I think he is slowly but surely getting that back, and HCT are going to help him massively with that.
Yeah. And Xixo was used this turn, because this was a hard turn. He was thinking, if after you draw, he was thinking, should I cube the Hadronox, or should I trade with it? Because that's a big thing. But now he's just representing a gigantic board, like basically all his taunts.
How do you stop this? I mean, you can slow it down, but how do you actually stop this from killing you?
Twisting Nether, but that doesn't. It's cut
it's
from
so few decks now. Yeah, open deck lists, of course. So. You know there isn't one in your opponent's deck, so nothing to worry about. Yeah,
if it was in the opponent's deck, we would probably see the cube instead.
Yeah, like just a ladder game.
Yeah. Just as a precaution, because if it's twisting, then you have 2 Hadronoxes on board at least. So, but we see here the ntR is just trying to find a way out of this mess, because this wall of taunts has a lot of damage potential. And Xixo just drew 3 new cards, and he has, And everything here is lethal anyway, so...
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different lethals here. Even a caster can spot them.
Yeah.
Even Twitch Cat can find them.
Wow. Are you sure?
No.
No, but...
We've got 25 new ranks now for those guys, so we're fine. And for us.
Well, he's trying to make out the math here on the file, which he should be able to clear some, but not everything. He should be alive.
Yeah, he stayed alive and dealt with some board. That's the best he could hope for here. Obviously, it's looking a bit forlorn, and we can see that branching pass and swipe is going to get this done.
Yeah.
But, you know, for ntR's point of view, he didn't know those cards were there. You've got to play to what you can hope is there. But Xixo does take this rapid 1-0 lead.
Yeah, this is really looking really good from Xixo from now on out, because ntR, what do we even queue in with this as ntR?
Yeah,
like
you've got to...
Yes.
Yes. And hope that you can get it done with your Tink Masters and your other bits and pieces.
Yeah, but it's a really rough one, and as long as Xixo doesn't overextend to the board, the warrior always has to use like reckless flurries and use brawls pretty aggressively, because you need to keep it down, because like 3 minions represent a huge threat, and I'm not sure if the old warrior can get through with this.
Yeah, and the other deck is the Token Druid, which...
Well, of course, Token Druid can do...
I mean, they can always win. So when we talk about favoured matchups in Hearthstone, obviously it's favoured. You know, there's quite a lot of things that are favoured in the world that don't happen.
Yeah.
A favoured matchup doesn't mean you win. That wasn't necessarily a favoured matchup just then, but because Xixo took it down, he's in a strong spot. That's all we're saying at this point.
Yeah, and the thing is, like with favoured matchup, most of the favoured matchup aren't like the old Control Warrior versus Freeze Mage, which is like 95% for the Control Warrior. They are more in the... If it's very favoured, it's probably like 60-40. That's very favoured.
Yeah, usually. Yeah, there's one or two exceptions. There's people I'm sure crying out right now, like Quest Rogue versus Aggro Mage is...
It's like 66 or something.
That one's actually insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Warrior versus the Aggro Mage as well.
Yeah, it's also really... But most of those...
most of them, 65 to 70 usually is top end.
And you see Xixo here keeping the wild growth, or getting the wild growth, of course, which is every good Druid player's getting the wild growth. That's
just auto play, right? It's just how you should play if you're one of the best players in the world.
And for ntR's sake, he needs to really look at what he can. He needs to find a game plan that works, because Odd Warrior isn't really an aggressor, never.
Yeah, it just doesn't have the stuff, so it's got to try and nullify everything. And like we say, you know, you can run the Druid out of things, but it's going to take a lot of hard work.
Yeah, and you don't win necessarily in fatigue either due to naturalizers, and you can remove them with Geist, and so it's a rough matchup for the warrior.
The wild growth thing's interesting, actually. We have to be very careful with generalization. We know it's the best card. We know it's fantastic for Druid. Zalay recently looked through a massive sample size. I think it was of Togwaggle Druid decks, and UI was actually better than wild growth in the mulligan.
Like mulligan.
Yeah, in the mulligan.
Well,
only like by 1% or something tiny. But in Togwaggle Druid, the wild growth was actually only the second best card.
Going back to Tom Xixo 229 in the World Championship, keeping
that
the
was
UI in the
still
mirror.
A play that people talk about to this day. In the mirror, do you keep the UI? I think people concluded you probably don't, but the world champion disagrees with you, so he's just going to say, yeah, you do.
You have to take big risks to win big, so and it paid off. And you see here now as well, Xixo going the perfect route with wild growth in token summons, thinning out his deck, drawing more cards, just basically getting there. And that's his goal now, just build up a pressure, because even though it's weird to say, but Taunt Druid is the aggressor in this matchup.
That is weird. It's just you're the guy who's putting things in the way, but because of branching path, because of the size of the dragons.
Yeah, the guy with Taunt in his name is the aggressor in this matchup.
And yeah, if he plays against the Token Druid, that will go completely the other way.
Yeah.
A lot of Hearthstone decks these days do have very mid-range tendencies. Even if they're not mid-range decks, they can play either way depending what they're against. But Warrior is right at the other end of that spectrum. It just is always the defender.
Well, except in the mirror.
Except in the mirror, when one of you has to work out who has the better tech cards and become the defender, and you battle and battle and battle for that tempo, and then find out who wins 30 turns later, because each individual decision is so hard to assess in its own right. we saw that in that first round.
Yeah, I follow the match, and you really see all the decision making that goes into those rounds. And in HGG, as you've been casting a lot, that's 4 people discussing all these plays as well. So the matches go like 1.5 hours. And
yeah, you're trying to sneak an extra 5 damage over the course of 30 turns in your opponent. So each point can be absolutely critical, but it's just not as simple as adding up the numbers.
Here's ntR. We see one of the tech cards that ntR has in exactly this matchup, and he hits the good roll on it, getting the 1-1 instead of the 5-5. Even though it doesn't matter that much, what matters is this is a beast that can render the witching hours completely useless.
Yeah, this is the 3rd squirrel we've seen out of 3 attempts, I think.
Well, a famous player once said that one of the most important things to actually get through in a Swiss round, because a lot of players are equally good, or and if the lineups are pretty much evenly matched up, is you have to have a little dash of luck. You have to high roll a little bit. Tinkmaster has that potential. If you always get the 1-1 squirrel on the enemy's minion and always get the 5-5 on your own, you can go far.
Dynamatic burned there. Not a disaster, but you know, could have been a lot worse. Boom could have gone. But yeah, you're right about the Swiss thing. I think the game has changed in modern times, because you see a lot more cards now. Obviously, I track quite a lot of stats, and the best players do seem to consistently go 6-3 now, at least in the Swiss. But it's that difference between 6-3 and 7-2, where maybe you need that little bit of things to go your way. Just keep hammering away, getting 6-3s. This is 8 rounds, so 5-3, 6-2 will be the numbers that people are looking for.
Oh, here,
yeah, he's just going
to going for
burn
a bird
stuff.
plan. And you saw the Super Collider is one of the ways where you can win this matchup as well. Oh, the Dardo Hatchling is gone.
So he's not winning in fatigue ever then.
Let's see if he burns Boom. It's a Gluttonous Zeus. It doesn't matter. It's a small card. The Super Collider hurts a lot, because it's one of the ways that ntR can clear several big minions stacked next to each other. But
yeah, with 5 cards being burned, I mean, that's not a bad result for ntR. It's not a good one by any stretch of the imagination, but you're going to lose something good.
It's not the worst, but it's not the best. And burning cards always feels bad as a warrior, because you need to use every inch of resource you have available to you to actually get through this matchup. And you see ntR here going for like more of the value plan with the Sola and the Dire Horns. He can build his own wall.
Yeah, and
maybe that's the plan he has. He wants Azalina and steal the Hadronox and just get a full board of Dire Hatchlings.
But Xixo isn't that good at Druid, because he didn't get himself an Oak Heart. He has managed to protect the Dragon Hatcher, but that won't hang around for very long this time around. Unless ntR wants it to.
Yeah, ntR has the possibility to just remove it. And that's the thing, though. When the Dragon Hatcher hits the board, the warrior has a choice. He can either remove it as fast as possible if he has the removal, or he can just let it sit and then just brawl everything.
Yeah. Obviously, that runs the risk of you getting a Hadronox in the face, but you've seen both naturalize.
Yeah, so the Hadronox can't be popped the same turn as it's being played. So it's a fairly decision ntR has to make now, how greedy he can be with the 2 removal or AoE removals he is currently in possession of. And with the double owl as well, he can like owl cubes and stuff like that, and he can just basically be able to lock Xixo out of having witching hour value, as he did with the Tinkmaster, and he can basically just that Xixo only gets 1 board refill maybe from the Hadronox.
Xixo
slowing down.
Yeah, slowing down. That's always a sign that there's a lot of thinking to be done. Like, what's this warrior got? Why didn't he deal with this? What am I expecting? And from that, he may be able to read about the amount of AoE there is.
He's probably a little bit pissed as well, because the last Primordial Drake just got picked up, so the Dragon Hatcher is just sitting there now. It's a 2-4 for 9.
Yeah.
But he decides, yeah, oh, I can push face. Like, he's a branching paths away from making this a really, really scary board. And then force ntR to use removal. And then he can reload it with the Hadronox.
Yeah, obviously, if ntR got too far ahead on armor, things get a lot trickier for the Druid, although it can push so much damage in 1 turn, not just now, but for some time to come.
Let's see what his mind control tech hits. ntR doesn't run any dragons, does he? No.
I doubt it.
So
I always say, I'm always careful before saying yes, because you find the weirdest things have the weirdest outlook, but I'm pretty sure there's no dragons in here.
He plays this and hits the 4-8, which is the best target for him. It's a huge target, actually, because it means 1 less dragon in the pool when the first Hadronox comes around.
Of course, he doesn't necessarily know that, because Xixo's got 2 dragons in hand.
Well, he knows it's 2 dragons in hand because the Dragon Hatcher didn't pull anything.
Oh, it didn't pull last turn. Okay, so I was missing a turn.
Which is really, that tells a lot about Xixo's hand. He knows it's 2 dragons in it, and it's now 3 other cards. One hasn't been played for a while, so he can kind of guess what's in Xixo's hand, and it's
he can work out very clearly from that
and play around it. He knows that most likely it's only 1 or 2, or mostly likely 1 card each turn that can come out because everything is so expensive.
So the reason Xixo is spending so long on this turn is he's not just planning for this turn, he's planning for the future. When do I want to Hadronox? How do I want to set it up? How do I make it stick? Plus I've got to factor in the fact that, Witching Hour might not be in the right spot anymore. Of course, the squirrels.
Yeah, the Witching Hour is at 50-50 at the moment.
Yeah.
Due to the squirrel, and that's never... you never want to tournament life to hinge on a 50-50.
No. We saw RDU do that some years ago. And it was the right move, but didn't go his way. Trying to qualify for the Worlds.
And you see here now, ntR is getting more resources. The Omega Assembly, which is on 10 mana now, gets the full Omega activator and giving him 3 good mechs. He's still lacking his boom, though.
Yeah, he hasn't quite got control of everything yet, so...
No, but that steal on the Drake helped immensely, but it's still a fairly dangerous board. See him playing out. Does he get any good mechs? He gets a Mechathune, which we saw earlier.
That's really good at challenging these big taunts. It doesn't get taken down easily, and also obviously it can chew through them pretty fast. Might get rid of 2 or 3 of these taunts.
10 rush is pretty good.
Seems like it.
Well, only rush when you have the...
If we get the boom, which hasn't turned up yet.
There's still a lot of deck cards in both players' decks, though, so... And the Warrior runs almost no card draw anyway, so...
Every time someone gets Meatwagon, they hover over it for like 20 seconds, just going through their mind... Does this ruin my deck? Is there something it pulls? They just always do it every time. It's really funny.
Yeah, you have to think because you don't play it in your deck, so you have to think like, do you have any 1 damage card or 1 attack card?
Yeah.
And some warrior lists run the Eternium Rover, which can be detrimental in for instance, the mirror.
It's interesting how in ladder I would say that more decks run the Rover than not, but in tournaments where you can ban out your biggest dangers, then you don't need it.
I think also the Rover has lost a lot of value because of how strong Odd Warrior is already versus aggro. So it doesn't need the Rover. Rover is a really good anti-aggro card, but you don't need it because you just stomp on them all day anyways. Yeah, Xixo is starting playing fast again because he doesn't have much options. He has like a Nourish for card draw and he has a Carnivorous Cube, and he's afraid to plump down the Hadronox because he doesn't have an answer, or he can't proc it, and he knows it's 2 owls in ntR's list.
And he also made the decision last turn.
Yeah.
So last turn he was like, what do I do with these cards? And nothing changed, so it was much easier for him to make that choice. And now I think again, do I change plan? Do I go with Lich King? Lich King looks good. Need some cards, need them to be good, so let's get Lich King in operation.
And it's also a little bit fun. It says a lot about the strength of Tontrid, because every druid deck, almost every druid deck, runs Ultimate Infestation, but it's not good enough in Tontrid.
That's ridiculous. And it is because you get that cluttery hand of 9s and 10s. You don't really want to draw 4 or 5 of those, and then it takes you forever to empty your hand anyway.
Yeah.
So the UI can be cluttered. As it's seen here, actually Xixo wouldn't have minded one in this particular game, I suspect, because his hand has been very light from the start. He got all the ramp, he got the early Dragon Hatcher going.
Yeah, now ntR is probably quite satisfied with himself right now. He got a good lead on the matchup, and Xixo has used both his naturalizers, which is kind of heartbreaking for him because he would love to play the Hadronox and just resummon all the things now. And as Rusty said, it's one of the key cards in this matchup, and he didn't burn anything that important. Ooh, the Faceless, that's juicy.
And this was the downside of Xixo burning those cards earlier with the naturalizers. He wasn't able to get rid of this the turn he played it, and so he has allowed this to happen.
And now he has a 50-50 with the Witching Hour. Of course, if he hits it, he's in a good spot. But
it's only a good spot because ntR's played plenty of taunts for his own Hadronox to get stuff back.
Oh, he hits the 50-50 though, and now we have a game on our hands because this cube has 2 more Hadronoxes in it, and it's Lich King in the pool. It's basically all the dragons except one because he got stolen. It's a pretty great pool of taunts.
Yeah, despite the fact that it's not a webcam, that's probably pretty close to how Xixo's face looks right now. Little bit of a smirk.
Will that faceless again, though? Can you faceless the cube and you just...
Don't do this. Yes, you can.
Yeah, and you just build your own wall. You build your own Hadronox. He's also thinking now, how can this in any way be lethal? Do I have to sacrifice my Hadronox right now? Do I have to sacrifice... because you can double trade in the Dire Horns into the Lich King and then summon them again, for instance, with...
Yeah, and he's got to be a little bit scared of Anti-Magic Shell being in hand. Xixo does have 2 of those Death Knight cards, so...
Yeah,
not only is there the branching path stuff going on, there's lots of lethal possibilities here. There aren't that many, but from where ntR's at, this is pretty scary right now.
Yeah, and now he wants to silence the cube. So Xixo only gets a 50-50 one more time. But the second, he runs 2 witching hours, but it's still a 50-50. So what's his plan? He needs to kill his Lich King, I think. It's important to not give Xixo any more value, but
yeah,
he's just sitting here. He was thinking of, should I sacrifice my Hadronox or what should I do? But he can stick around because this board isn't that threatening. Well, Anti-Magic Shell
Anti-Magic Shell would be pretty terrifying, but yeah, other than that, you're right. He's managed to make it so that Xixo needed Anti-Magic Shell and Branching Paths as well, which is pretty unlikely, and ntR rewarded for this.
It's the second Witching Hour, though. And there's no more silences, so a Witching Hour Carnivorous Cube is possible. Well, it's still 50-50, though. Or it's a...
Is it a 2 and 3 now?
No, it's 2 and 3 now because it's already summoned.
Two Hadronoxes in there. Yeah,
so
if you win the first one, it snowballs in your favour. If you lose it, it snowballs against you.
But it's still, it comes down to he got lucky the first time. It's a coin flip, and next time he has to hit again to actually have a game going. And Xixo... Oh, he wants to pop the cube? And do the Death and Decay and just...
Yeah.
Not fill the board like
just suffer
times.
this once.
Yeah.
Suffer it once and once only. If you can get through this lot.
That's a lot of thoughts.
It is a lot of things. But again, the warrior doesn't have the buffs that Xixo has on his side, so it's not over yet. Again, assuming how the Witching Hour goes. Because
is there any way to lethal? No, it's not. The druid has way too much armor. More armor than the warrior.
And with no buffs on the warrior side, no big ones at least. If you don't count magnetize or whatever.
No, that's basically 1 million buff. You need like a branching path, so you need like something like that buffs everything. And it doesn't have a Lich King card, so
it's pretty menacing over the next 2 or 3 turns. If this Witching Hour does hit a Hadronox, it's still game on. If it rolls a squirrel, then ntR will just steamroll through this.
Yeah, because then Xixo doesn't have enough minions to get through all of this. So. Is there a way to... You can clear most of the board with Reckless Flurry without ruining your own board, which is probably a consideration. It clears almost everything. Or you can just trade straight up.
Yeah, he's just going to chew through and save everything he can, because if you get a Reckless Flurry down later against one final throw from Xixo, then he might be in the clear himself anyway.
That's probably the plan in the end. Because he needs removal for this Carnivorous Cube Witching Hour. That's probably going to come. We're going to see right now.
And now it is a lethal setup. So good luck, Xixo fans.
Xixo hits the Hadronox again. And that means he can make another full board.
Yeah, getting rid of his cube first to make more space on the board.
Hopefully, what is he hoping for? He was hoping for no Armored Golems and just all the big stuff.
Yeah, as many Lich Kings as possible. He doesn't get a single Lich King here.
3 Armored Golems.
So that's
it's not the best board, but it will work.
It will work, yeah. It'll make it a lot harder because obviously the Lich King's a big deal. He wouldn't have hung around for long anyway. He needed to get sort of 2 Lich Kings or something.
Yeah, 2 Lich Kings would be rougher to deal with because all these minions, even though they have a lot of health, they have a low attack value, and the ntR has the big 6/9s they can chew through a lot of this, but.
And he has no way of dealing with the cube, which is really irritating for him. If he could just get rid of the cube now with Shield Slam or something and then Brawl, that would be basically...
Well, he can get... Yeah. He needs if he had a Shield Slam here, it would be a really clean turn.
Yeah.
With Shield Slamming the cube, and then you can Reckless Flurry, and then you can Brawl, for instance, or in whatever order you want.
But now, because he can't do that, this game will take a turn the other way for a while.
This is rough for ntR, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so frustrating when you have the tech card and it doesn't do its thing, but that's why it doesn't always stay around as a tech card.
It's
for
only
long.
50-50, and as you said, the tech card is there also. You need to high roll a little bit with that tech card because it's a 50-50 tech card. And
but it's been so good against other decks as well. I think
Yes.
I think it's looking like a really good addition to this deck. Actually,
might be staple.
it might well be. It might well be.
There's a lot of cards in the Odd Warrior list that change around all the time, so it might be the new hidden tech that everyone's going to use.
Odd Warrior is a deck that, oddly enough, considering everybody knows how to play Odd Warrior, you kill their stuff, you grind it out, you get some armor. The actual composition of the deck just isn't at all settled on, I don't think. You can probably put 25 cards in there that we know you need.
Yeah, and that's also the fun thing about the even and the odd decks is like a lot of tech cards we never would have thought about before is being used now because half the deck pool is gone.
Yeah, I mean, when you can't play Execute in your Warrior deck,
you have to find
everything gets awkward.
You have to find solutions. Here we see Xixo is just pummeling through with a double buff and just trying to clean up all these taunts. He doesn't have lethal at the moment, but he has a pretty scary setup for lethal next turn. Just pummeling through all the taunts, and this is a headache for ntR because he can't get rid of the cube, which he needs to, and then he needs to kill the Hater Noxes, and then he needs to kill the board.
Yeah, Xixo made a little bit of space there for himself as well, so ntR has gone from looking really strong to really, really weak in the last couple of turns, just because of this second cube.
And the thing is he's just a shield slam away for actually being able to clear everything. Or everything except one minion. And it's really heartbreaking to see. It's like waiting for all this, and it's not... They're getting to the end of their decks.
Spoken like a true Norwegian.
Yeah. Heartbreaking, yeah. And knowing ntR is also... He's thinking now, like, he needs to survive until he can actually deal with this, because it doesn't help that he removes the cube and then kills the Hater Noxes. It does nothing. It basically makes the game worse for him, because it's more stuff on board if he kills the cube and kills the Hater Noxes.
Yeah, pretty tricky for him to maneuver right now. Definitely not over, but...
It's getting close there, and he needs to get through this 6-9, though, the 6-0, and that's not the easiest thing in the world, but it's a big minion, but he has the minion pressure on it, that he can kill it.
Because ntR does have a lot of clears available in his hand. It's just getting the time and the mana and the...
Well, it's basically two death rattles.
Them.
It's two death rattles that he needs to chew through. So he needs to kill things 3 times.
And it picks up branching paths there and instantly lifts it in the air.
This is going well for armor to be able to attack, and then yeah, because the Ironwood Golem is... We rarely see this because the Druids always have like 40 armor, where they need 3 armor to be able to attack.
That's so weird. Yeah, I just forget that happens on the Ironwoods a lot of the time. It's like, well, why isn't he attacking with that? I've seen other casters do it as well, but I've done it myself too. It's like, oh yeah, because there's a rule attached to this card.
People just thinking like, oh, he has lethal on board with double attack branch path. Oh no, he doesn't have armor. Stuff like that happens all the time. Right?
I've seen players lose themselves because of it as well, because it's just such an ingrained thing. A minion has numbers on, you hit them with the numbers. And like you say, Druid often has all that huge amount of armor that you refer to.
Is this a misplay from Xixo? Could he have buffed the Hater Noxes instead? If he went differently? Yeah, because he can double trade and he can have attacks on the Hater Noxes instead. Because he thought a long time about it, and then he suddenly had to do all the things, and something like this happened, but he's still in a decent shape.
Yeah, one of the things that I think, again, I keep on about how pro players are getting better, but one of the things they're getting better at is realizing when, okay, I need to do this, this, and this, but I'm here, I've got 15 seconds, let's not dwell on it till next turn, let's just get on with it. Seen players, Zalae's a good one for it, where they just run out of time a lot of the time, and just prioritize playing a nearly perfect turn, and just doing something before they run out, and the ordering can just go to pieces in those situations.
Now the board doesn't seem that menacing, though. As long as ntR can manage to get a little bit of armor, he can, next turn, he can armor up, shield block, Reckless Flurry, and then Brawl. Which is pretty... Which will do a lot of things. It will give 1 minion left on the board. That's Dr. Boom as well. Dr. Boom Reckless Flurry is not good, though. He needs the double... No, he doesn't have mana for everything.
He's trying to find a way, I think, where he can leave these up.
Double Brawl deals with this, though. He would love to like really have a high armor count now, because doing a reckless flurry now for 7 would just solve all his problems.
Because he's not dying in a hurry. He will know Xixo's hand most likely. Every card has been gone. He doesn't know what that.
Oh, this is really well spotted actually. He uses the Super Collider to clear off and then brawls the board that comes off. Oh, this is so sweet. Really well played by ntR right there.
Yeah, and that's going to get that job done. And despite the tech card working.
Yeah, this is over for Xixo now. Wow. Really lovely played by ntR there, spotting that reckless flurry with, even though he didn't have the armor count, but using the Super Collider in a really cool way, because staples.
It's better now we've got Odd Warrior works.
Yeah.
So using it with the armor, you've still got to be careful with it. I still like the design of the card, because obviously you don't want to use 27 armor to clear a board, but if they're going to hit you for 28, you might have to.
Yeah, with the reckless flurry, yeah. Talking about Super Collider.
Oh, talking about Collider? Yeah, Collider people did sleep on, very much so, sorry.
People are like, well, it's a 1/3 weapon, doesn't do anything, doesn't do enough, it's a gimmick. It actually looks really cool. I love the animation on it. It's just like you hammering the guy and he just punches the other guy. And it's really fun to see.
I think we've come from metas where there weren't many minions on the board a lot of the time.
Yeah, just
so
one
like,
big and then...
my Super Collider hits your 5/5 for 1.
Yeah.
What's the point? But now in a meta where minions stick around, they have a lot of high health totals these days, which means that Super Collider has targets. And yeah, it's superb. And you're right, I certainly overlooked it.
And now we see Xixo is queuing in with his Death Rattle Hunter. And this is a deck that's a lot of discussions around, because a lot of people is saying that it's very Death Rattle Hunter favored. But a lot of the Odd Warrior players are just saying, no. This is, if you play this correctly, Warrior wins every time.
Interesting. I mean, the Rexar is a big deal. I think the every time thing is not my view.
No.
But I've definitely heard other players saying the same thing. They feel that this is much closer than we ever make it out to be. And again, Tinkmaster could be a big deal in this one.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I like HS Replay, because there's a lot of Odd Warrior on ladder, and same with Death Rattle Hunter. But Odd Warrior might, to actually win the Death Rattle Hunter matchup, is a lot harder to navigate. And as we know, people on ladder isn't necessarily representative of the tournament players, and they don't play the deck to 100%.
Exactly, and that makes a big difference. And I always say with the stats, they're fantastic, but use them very carefully.
Yeah. But Xixo has a good opening here with the Prince Kelleset. He just needs an egg now, and this hand looks fantastic.
It'll look fantastic till the egg gets Tinkmastered.
Well, that's true.
And then suddenly you've got a squirrel. Or you get the 5/5 you wanted in the first place. But yeah.
It's basically killing the egg. That's what it does. It does 3 damage to the egg.
So you've got 50-50 of it going back to killing the egg, which might be okay.
Yeah, Xixo just playing straight up. The mind control tech gets no value versus Odd Warrior, but it's a 4/4 on board.
Yeah, the Keleseth makes a surprisingly big difference in this matchup. I think that in general in Hunter, Keleseth's like the 5th or 6th best card in the mulligan. It's not even amazing like in every other Keleseth deck where it is just insane.
Yeah.
But I think here where you need every piece of damage early to keep the Warrior on the back foot while you're waiting for your Rexar, which is, let's face it, what the game is all about.
Yeah.
If you get Rexar early, you tend to win. If you get it late, you tend not to.
Yeah, it's a keep in this matchup in most cases. I would say,
yes. Yeah.
The thing is also that the difference with a lot of people have been also playing the Secret Hunter, which also plays Rexar. Rexar doesn't play a big role in that compared to in this Death Rattle Hunter, because the Death Rattle has all the synergies and has a better late game. Because the Secret Hunter is like basically an aggro deck with Rexar for just maybe clutching out the win for the more grindy ones.
Yeah, this gets really weird when you don't draw Rexar, because discussions like, do you want to tracking into it? Well, yes, you want it as early as possible, but you're not dying anytime soon, so you're not in a hurry to get there any quicker in terms of cards. You'd rather draw it early than late. But if you're tracking and it's the first card on the tracking, that's 2 beasts you can't build. It's 2 cards that have gone from your deck. You're 2 cards near a fatigue. And there's lots of other intricacies in this one where you have to have an open mind as to how you want to approach it.
Yeah, and it's also the fact that Rex, if you have a really aggressive start, like Xixo had good minions on curve here now, you don't maybe want to lose the hero power, because it's 2 damage of pressure. It basically makes the warrior hero power the normal warrior hero power, and then you can pile on the pressure and continue just pushing for damage. And you see it already. ntR is down to 15, and he can't even armor up this turn. So,
but from now onwards,
yeah, it's going to be an armor up in every.
Yeah.
But this egg is also going to be annoying. It's a 1/4, so you can't trade in with the Dynamatic to clear it and then do a brawl, for instance.
It can also start attacking to kill itself if you play a big defender, which is also irritating.
Yeah, and Xixo also plays, like, the weird thing about this list compared to other lists is he plays the Defender of Argus instead of the high main, which makes also this matchup a little bit worse, I would say, because the Defender of Argus is more tool versus like the aggro matchups, and everyone knows from earliest times of Hearthstone, Savannah High Main, the best hunter legendary ever.
Yeah, and it's still really good. And like you say,
really good.
The only reason it's not even got the legendary tag these days is because Giggling Inventor might be stealing that one from it, I think.
And it's like getting a cube on a Savannah High Main. It's basically the same as the Hadronox. It's so many death rattles you need to get through to actually clear the board fully, which means you can push even more damage. That Candle Shot is also quite good pickup there.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But he's getting no cards in hand, and that's super annoying. Like, the Hunter's Mark has a lot of value, but and even though ntR is getting low, like, Warrior has 4 armor per turn, which is a lot.
Yeah, low is not the answer against Warrior. You have to kill them. A number of times they will go to 1 or 2, and then you run out of cards, they get 2 or 3 turns where they armor up, and you're back where you started nearly, with fewer cards in hand. Again, Rexxar is the thing that changes that. If the Warrior's this low when Rexxar is picked up, the Warrior almost certainly can't recover. But if Rexxar's 6 cards further down the deck, and you're back to 34, that can make a huge difference.
Well, this is a really good brawl as well. The egg winning means that unless he has an activator, which would be used last turn, most likely, this is just 1 damage. And Xixo, we didn't even see how it's just a Q. Just getting 2 5/5s or 1 5/7 and 1 5/5 on board, just piling on the pressure, because now it's lethal setup. Well, not with the armor up, but it's getting close.
Yeah, and again, if your opponent's using 2 mana to armor up each turn, okay, it's a fantastic hero power, but it's really interfering.
Do we have to see Tinkmaster here now to actually be able to clutch this out? Do we need another Squirrel?
Might do. Might do. So Flurry doesn't do it.
The taunt is in the way though, but he has a Hunter's Mark to get through, and
yeah, he's got the ooze, so at least he gets rid of the lethal version of that for now. That would have been lethal if he hadn't had the ooze.
Yeah.
Well, he wouldn't, because he'd be able to tank up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if he would tank up instead of the use then, basically. But ntR is also wondering what's this last card in his hand that he doesn't play, and then now he sees it. Like, now Xixo is playing off top of the deck, and
yeah,
and every turn is basically, well, whatever can he do. And Xixo is gonna punch everything face now and just hope that ntR doesn't have the answer.
And again, the ntR will need some time. If say ntR does stabilize for 3 or 4 turns, Rexxar's getting nearer.
Yeah.
You know, so somewhere that could change around. But for the time being, if he can find a way.
Does he have a way? Well, he can armor up Boom, puts him up to 15. It's
not enough.
Yeah, that's not enough. He can trade the Dynamatic, and no, that's not enough either. Or if,
so Super Collider stuff.
He needs to armor up Super Collider, and then he's still down to 4. He needs to kill like everything.
Get Ziliax from Obergo Assembly. Don't even know if that's enough.
This is, yeah. And then here we see the power of the Hunter. Like, even without the win condition with Rexxar, he's just piling on tons and tons and tons of pressure.
It might be a Tinkmaster attempt. Might be some way of doing this.
Well, he can't Super Collider and then do the Boom and then trade and clearing off the board, but it's never feels good because, well, you're dead anyways. Because of the because of the hero power that hasn't been changed out, and ntR didn't find a way, and we see there this is the power of the Hunter, and this is one of the reasons why they're being brought, because Odd Warrior is a nuisance if you bring some sort of aggro, or if it can be a problem. And in LHS, you need something to just counter your counter to your counter to your counter, thinking a couple of steps ahead. And the Death Rattle Hunter is good. And how do you counter the Death Rattle Hunter is usually aggro or like a Token Druid.
Yeah, which luckily for ntR, well, it's not luckily, it's by design. He does have that Token Druid available next game.
We probably see that being queued into here. And the thing also is that Xixo's Hunter is teched for a little bit anti-aggro as well, because if the Hunter gets a really good start, the Token Druid can struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Token Druid often wins this just by going turn 4, here's a board of 1/1s.
Next
and
turn,
hope it's
Savage Roar,
yeah, and just kill you. So Mossy Horror is interesting because it's a little slow, but it does deal with a lot of the things that the Druid throws at you.
Yeah, and he keeps the Mossy Horror because he knows that... Oh, that's the Token Rexar as well.
This combo is so good very often. It can kill their board over 2 turns.
Yeah, and this Token Rexar is key because it's one of your AoE clears. It's the only AoE clear you have besides Mossy Horror.
The downside here for ntR is even if he wins this, he's then got to go into the even Warlock.
Oh, that's a horrible
Which
matchup.
is absolutely horrendous for him.
But it works. Sometimes it just works.
I mean, it can definitely get it done. It can just get out of sight, or the Warlock doesn't always draw its stuff. And this is important because the Whispering Woods has been picked up here for ntR, along with Wild Growth, along with Soul of the Forest. If he can get a buff of any sort, he can just win this game on turn 4 or 5.
This is the explosiveness, and this is how he probably has to win versus even Warlock. Just you have to take risks.
Yeah, you have to go for this. It's way before Mossy Horror, and then just trust your deck to bail you out. The ramp is a lot less important in this a lot of the time.
Yeah. This is a big board now.
The only thing that he'll be pausing about is because he has got no buffs. It's like...
Yeah, well, what do I follow up with? It's just a bunch of 1/1s. They do nothing.
So he's got to count how many he thinks, how many in his deck, what he thinks the good draws are next turn.
He has four buffs that's crucial for damage. And so he has to basically think what is the possibility of me drawing one of them, or the Power of the Wild, which also is good. It's not as good as the Branching Paths or the Savage Roar, but it's still good.
So what he could do here is he could Wild Growth if he doesn't go for the wide board, then play Giggling, and then go Soul of the Forest and Whispering Woods on the same turn in a few turns' time, by which time he will have drawn some buffs to be able to go for it. The downside of all that is that while you're messing around with Giggling Inventors, Xixo's building a bigger and bigger board.
Yeah, and if there was no minions on this board, like if he hadn't drawn Kelleset and the Mind Control tech, he would probably Whispering Woods straight away. But since it's 2 minions, they can trade away, value trade into 2 of the Wisp, and suddenly, since you don't have any buffs, you don't have the follow-up to actually punch through. And so you see the strength of Xixo drawing the Kelleset. And he's keep drawing like minions to just play them on the board, even though usually they have like some synergy value and stuff like that. But Xixo knows, I don't have much AoE. What I have to do is have minions to trade into the small ones. And there we see though,
well, super important last time that ntR didn't Wild Growth because he knew he was almost certainly playing the Giggling Inventor, which means that he gets to hold back the Wild Growth for the foreseeable future. There's no hurry, and maybe eventually even use it as a card draw, which this Druid deck can just run out of cards, and it really needs the cards. Those Whispering Woods need their fuel. Yeah,
and it's always like in other Druid decks when you draw with Branching Paths, it's okay. But in this one, when you draw, it's like it's super depressing to draw with the Branching Paths in this deck because it needs 1 less buff.
And the other way around, normally you just ramp automatically with Nourish. In this deck, you have a long thing, and probably you don't need 10 mana in a hurry. You need 10 mana turn 8 or 9.
Yeah.
So you save that Nourish and try and get cards out of it.
But this would be a much easier Wild Growth if you had something like a Nourish in a hand, or for instance, Ultimate Infestation, because then he needs to just dump his hand and get to 10 mana.
And now he's trying to get to that 8 mana for next turn available. So he can do the Whispering Woods thing, but again, it's going to be a bit smaller. But he's got Whispering Woods, coin Soul of the Forest next turn. And because of the way that the board transpired, the Giggling Inventor was put on hold. And Xixo's not messing around. He's just making things of any sort. You were saying how the Xixo's making minions just to deal with the things as they come down. Even a 2/2 Kelleset deals with a silly token.
Yeah, it's perfect because all the tokens here, besides, they are small. The only big minions you get is when you get the Scavengers and just stack them on top of each other. But usually, it's that's not the biggest problem because that's only like 2-3 minions that gets a bit big. The big problem is the 7 Wisps. And then the 2, and then the 7 treants afterwards.
So if you make that wide board, and then you've got your Mossy Horrors and your Rexars afterwards, and you say kill 3 of those off with your 2 Kelleseths and your cube or whatever, and then you Mossy Horror some of those away, suddenly your opponent's got 4, it's probably not enough to kill you, then you Rexar the turn after, and everybody's happy. Well, apart from ntR, Norway, and Nordavin, and Zorkthar.
Yeah. But apart from the people hosting this great event,
and it is a great event here, I must admit. Many other esports taking place around the arena at the same time. So from time to time you might hear loud noises and the such like. That is the other people enjoying the festivities here at GigaCon.
Yeah, he does the play that we talked about, the coin out the soul of the forest to get 5 wisps on the board. It's a reasonable board that he knows that ntR has to respect. Because if he doesn't respect it, he can die at any time, basically.
But Xixo had this planned out last turn. He saw how ntR had been playing. Figured that this might be a possibility because not much was happening, which is weird.
Yeah, and Xixo just playing everything out. He's just like, yeah, well, I know exactly what I'm doing. Clearing as much as I can and then just getting through. Has 2 taunts that you have to punch through, that 2 attacks less. And suddenly this board isn't that menacing.
It's not. I wonder if ntR is tempted
To do the second soul of the forest.
Yeah, to do some trades here and then play Saronite and play the second soul. And they'll have 2/2 trinits with soul on them.
Yeah, there's also the question about if he's going to use swipe and then clear 2 of the wisps in and then soul of the forest. There's also another one, but it's low soul of the forest value on it. And you rather want it on a bigger board with like Saronite chain gangs, but then you have like bad trades into the Kellis that you can only kill 1.
Yep. And again, you've got the Giggling Inventor, and also you have no buffs, and this must be a real problem in ntR's plans right now. Is he can't rely on that buff coming off the top of the deck.
Well, there we see the other player can clear all the Kellis sets, and he doesn't even buff them with the Soul of the Forest. He just keeps them as 2/2s, I guess. Which is going to be punished by, because Xixo got AoE now for days.
Yeah.
Xixo was lucky here. He got all the cards he needed. He got the early pressure. He got like the early, he got the early minions to just keep on clearing.
But highlight how he went about it. I mean, he did cube a Kelliseth.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people would go, well, why are you doing that? Now we've seen why you do that. Now we've seen how this matchup is played by a player who understands the matchup.
There we see he's going to use the second play dead also just to get more 2/2s on board, because the 2/2s are, can clear all the small stuff that ntR can put up.
And he's borderline threatening lethal of his own in the next couple of turns.
What if we change play dead to also play the battle cries? Then you have a really big deck now.
let's not do that. let's not do that till Kelliseth's gone away. That would be terrifying.
But yeah, this is also one of the strengths of Druid. As you see now, Giggling Inventor is basically board in a box. It's basically 1 card, gives you 3 minions, and it's perfectly for like, every time you have like 1 or 2 minions on board, playing Giggling Inventor Soul of the Forest suddenly is a really good play, because you get 5 Soul of the Forest triggers.
I'm just looking at this Mossy Horror, and I'm looking at ntR's hand.
Oh, the Spreading Plague. Oh, it's going to be... That's going to be sad.
I mean, it does affect both sides of the board, so Xixo will lose his own Kelliseth, but now he can start building beasts. And he doesn't need many good beasts here.
Couple of good taunts, and ntR can never get through.
Yeah. Or a charge minion, he probably just wins the game.
And ntR, what ntR really needs now is ultimate infestation off the top. I hate to say it, but
yeah,
it's a good card.
Druid does that a lot.
It's a good card.
Xixo took the first part of this instantly, so he's got a Flappy Bird.
Echo Rush Flappy Bird.
Echo Rush Flappy Bird, so he might want to hold on to that till turn 10.
The second Spreading Plague doesn't help much. He couldn't do the Giggling Inventor Saronite Chain Gang to set up a board that's hard to get through. He's already down to 9 because of all the minion pressure.
And he's seen the 2 key cards. He's seen the 2 things that demolish those boards. So
yeah, and even see the taunt with the Defender of Argus, and he's seen a lot of Death Rattle activators. He's basically sitting here. It's like, well, there's not much you can do about because that's a 5 minion board with 4 of them having taunt and 2 of them having Divine Shield. It's an insane board for 2 cards. And
then you say you just play for that ultimate infestation, hope to hang on. This deck is never dead until it's dead. I've said this earlier today. It turns things around in a hurry when he hasn't drawn a single buff, I don't think, all game.
No.
So he's still got double branching. He's still got double Savage Draw.
He got the Power of the Wild as well.
Yes.
But the most important thing is his ultimate infestation now. Just refill his hand. But the problem is, like, ultimate infestation when you're this low can be dangerous, because what if it's a charge minion and you just die?
Oh.
plays the second Spreading Plague and the Serenade Chain Gang, and that's his fourth Spreading Plague, but he needs to protect his own health total here because he doesn't have much left. And if something of this sticks, the Giggling Inventor plus Solo the Forest follow-up gives him a decent board with Solo the Forest. But seeing here, Xixo, he really wanted to be on 10 mana now because playing the zombies, it's Echo Rush. We don't see the stat, but it should be 5/4 because it's a 2/1 dog and 3/3. Yeah, so it should be 5/4, and then you can clear two of the Scarabs off at once. But he needs to be on 10 mana.
Yeah, he needs to wait till next turn. This is a very awkward turn for him. He does know a lot about ntR's hand here, though.
Yeah.
He's not seen any buffs. He knows there's no UI. He's got a good idea what's going on. Although, to be fair, these two cards could easily have been played, so it might be a little bit confusing for him.
Well, he hasn't had, ntR haven't had a good chance to actually play buffs. So that might be what he's thinking. This could be a
Hydra.
Well, that's a Taunt Hydra at 4/10. It's a hard thing to get through.
It's also a very good beating stick for getting through things.
Yeah, it just eats up these Scarabs. Well, ntR now, if he plays Giggling Inventor, is he dead? Giggling Inventor Solo the Forest, that's the question, because the Xixo's board has a weird attack. You have to punch two times to get through the Scarabs.
And he doesn't know about the Rush Echo Zombies. That's the problem ntR is going to have here. He may miscalculate because of that.
So the safest play is Giggling Inventor Serenade Chain Gang, but is that the play to win? That's the question.
I think getting your Chain Gang out there might just get you killed.
Yeah.
Because you see the Hydra is just going to blow it up. So you're just throwing 4 mana out there for no reason. So can he get away with Giggling Inventor on its own?
With the Soul of the Forest, I guess. Then.
Yeah, with the Soul of the Forest on it as well, and just hope to sort of draw something that helps you. Because this has been pretty incredible here, not to draw any card draw and not to draw any buffs.
Yeah, only draw. Oh, you draw 2 Wild Growth, so you have that going, but that doesn't help. That's like the problem with Druid for a lot of time is like everyone was saying like, well, you use all the time to ramp. He doesn't have lethal though, because he only has 10 damage on board and it's 9 health. So, and he can't get through without.
Yeah, the Hydra can't attack 4 times. Can't get Super Wind Fury.
That would be cool though. We could get Wind Fury on it with Crackling to erase some more of the Build-A-Beast, but that would help a lot, but not enough.
So with that in mind, he might keep that back because there's no way ntR can expect that beast to come through. So maybe Xixo takes it a bit slow and sets it up for next turn.
Well, also getting 2 5/4s on board that clears a bunch of the stuff. And they need to be killed because as soon as they hit face, it's over. Yeah. And he clears. If he kills the other Scarab and he can run the Hydra into the 1/2 with Divine Shield and he hits the... No. He can't clear everything, but he can clear a lot.
He can clear a lot. That is very true indeed, and he's going to clear a lot. Yeah, so Xixo making sure he kills off as much of the second part of Soul of the Forest as possible here.
He has no buffs can disrupt this. So it's basically, well, you have 4 minions. I have a 4/9 taunt in a way. The Nourish is a good draw. It's a bit late.
I think it's too late.
But he probably needs to just draw with it to see if he has any sort of way to get out. The Savage Roar is huge. But it's not enough.
So is there any way he can clear enough off to even stay alive with this Savage Roar?
Because he needs to kill...
My instinct says no, but I guess he could...
He needs to sink 9 damage into that Hydra.
Great.
And yeah, and that's 3 minions. Or using his face. This is not looking good. He needs to kill both of the... If he kills the Hydra without taking damage and kills both of the Vicious Fledglings, he's safe. But I don't think you have enough attacks for that.
He's got no other option, so he's going to play it anyway and assign the damage as he goes because he's running out of time. I think he knows that this isn't going to work, but no harm in just assigning that damage whilst you've got it visual in front of you and seeing what happens.
This is what we said. Xixo got everything he needed in this matchup. We said it's a bad matchup in general, but he got everything he needed.
Yeah, he chose to keep the Mossy Horror, which obviously is a decent keep against Token Druid. He then made very good decisions with the Keleseth and the Cube, just going, any minion will do, anything kills a